Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back for another video. Today, we have something a bit different. I don't really get into much controversial stuff, but I will never go back to the US living in Japan for Americans. There's two ways I could see this video going. Uh, Way number one, they just like how like Japan does and implements things, and they feel like it was a better place or it is a better place to be. And I'm all for that. I'm all for putting Japan up. However, number two is probably more likely that they are going to try to tear America down. So I'm just here to fact check. Okay. I just want to make sure. Just want to make sure everything's on the up and up. Okay.
Been in Japan for 17 years, so a long time.
It was 4
17
o'clock in the
years.
morning. Like, I could never do that in America and feel safe.
6'3" black.
This is what I'm talking about. 4 o'clock in the morning. There are certain places in America that 4 o'clock in the morning is a problem. But my problem with this messaging that they are spreading is that people already don't know enough about America, and you're giving them the impression that everywhere is like New York, everywhere is like LA, everywhere is like I don't know, wherever else is fucked up. Uh, so you're giving them this impression, and then they think the rest of the U.S. is like that. Now, some of them are smart enough to know that literally state by state, the culture and the people change. Um, I would say the least amount of change is probably the Midwest. I think the Midwest, for the most part, at least in South Dakota, Nebraska, and Iowa, we're all fairly similar in mannerisms, the way we speak, what we say, how we say it. Um, and as far as like core values go, except for Omaha, apparently. Or was it Omaha or was it Lincoln? It was somewhere that was like District A and District B or something like that. Some weird stuff going on in Nebraska. I don't know what the hell's going on in Nebraska, but I do know that our states are different, but as close to the same as you'll probably see in the US on a state by state basis. So, enough rambling. Let's get into it.
Black man living in Japan. Like if the police stop me here and ask to see my, resident card,
I feel better taken care of in Japan. I don't have to worry about going into medical debt. I don't have to worry about getting shot.
Most likely gonna go back to the States. I wanna stay, but
You speak Japanese, right?
Oh yes,
Okay.
I'm pretty fluent.
Like, how did you learn? Because you've only been in Japan for 1 year or something, right?
If you're like broke and an American.
Point? Good point. I tried learning Japanese 2 years ago, and I could get like the vocabulary and stuff was pretty easy to get down, but trying to keep constant formulation of sentences without having either a tutor or a Japanese friend or somebody to speak to, it was basically impossible. I was not able to keep up with the Japanese because I just had no way to practice really. Granted, I know there are some tools that have come a long way, but for the most part, I was like, nah, I'm just not gonna bother with it, you know.
America and you've always wanted to come to Japan like I did, I have
We
really
need more
good
Japanese
practical
people in
advice to
America.
lock in.
So if you're Japanese and you want to move somewhere else, come to America. We'd love to
Hey
have
guys,
you.
how you doing? I'm Takashi. So today I'm gonna interview Americans in Japan. What's it like living in Japan for Americans?
I love these videos, by the way, because they're like so insightful to see like an American perspective on different places.
Okay, let's get started. Which city are you from? How long have you been in Japan? What do you do for a living?
So I'm
Holy shit, he rattled that off quick.
from Richmond, Virginia. I live in Meguro in Tokyo. I have a business called Key World that me and my manager run. that helps people that want to get to Japan and get their visa and get their businesses set up.
So I was born in Tokyo, but I grew up in Virginia near the DMV area. I'm half Okinawan and half American.
Wait, born in Japan and then raised in Virginia, so she was an immigrant essentially.
I've been living in Tokyo now for about 2 years, and I primarily do modeling.
Why would you ever leave? That's my question. Like, I'm assuming it's probably a parent decision, right? But of all places to go to, Virginia? Weird.
So I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida. I've been living in Japan.
That is the most southern fucking man I've ever seen in my motherfucking life. Okay, he got that Dale Earnhardt on. No, I'm kidding. Don't cancel me. I don't know what the fuck it is.
And for 4 months. I've been traveling here for 7 years. And for business, I run a consulting agency in Tokyo called Hanami
I just noticed that necklace is crazy.
Social.
Hi, my name is Imri. I've lived in Japan for 10 years now. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've also lived in Dallas, Texas, and Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, notoriously bad. Dallas, notoriously bad. So she's from city living. And where's she was from Oklahoma? I glazed over that.
And I'm a product designer here in Japan.
I am from Norfolk, Virginia, and I am a photographer here in Tokyo and a creative producer. And I've been here for 14 years.
I'm from Oahu, Hawaii. I've been in Japan for
Hey,
about almost 3
I
years
fucking
now,
love Hawaii.
and I'm here studying as a student.
I'm from
I went to Hawaii last year and it was like the best experience of my life. Almost killed me because I went from a very, very cold tundra-esque South Dakota winter in the old town that I used to live in, which I'm not even gonna bother telling you about. Um, but I will say the best way to describe it when people used to ask me, "Oh, where do you live in South Dakota?" "Oh, I'm 8 hours from Canada." It's an 8-hour drive and I'm across the Canadian border. That's where I live. It's cold.
from Oakland, California. I've been in Japan for 17 years, so a long time. And I do comedy. I do YouTube and social media and stuff like that.
For Japanese audience.
Yep, only for Japanese people.
I like the little necklace. Why do these guys got some crazy necklaces on for this video?
Speaking Japanese.
Speaking in Japanese, Americans or English speakers won't get anything that I say, so.
What brought you to Japan?
Listen. I'm an anime veteran. Turn on the subtitles. I got this.
And how difficult was moving to Japan?
So I always wanted to live in Japan since I was a little kid.
So I think he was the one earlier that had the, oh, if you're broke. So it is easier, right, monetarily, but from a societal standpoint, there's so many different things that you have to take account for and adjust to. And um, a lot of the people that I've seen who are successful in Japan, like on a different level, successful monetarily, are YouTubers. And every single one of them said that they would not work in Japan. They would only, and even one of them actually started in Japan as a as an English teacher, and then became a YouTuber later. So that's a bit of an interesting dynamic to me that they love the culture, they love the fact that they can be financially stable, but the one thing they don't like is the work culture, which is a common theme that Japan has a problem with. They don't know how to be productive without spending an entire day to make yourself look good in front of your boss productive, and that's just not healthy. And if you don't believe me, you just look at anime industry hours. It's like crazy how many hours these guys are working.
And I wanted to speak Japanese perfectly. But moving to Japan was relatively easy. I wanted to get here as soon as possible. So what I did was I signed up for like a cheap student visa, which can be extended up to 2 years, and came here 4 months ago.
Coming to Japan was a long process. I mean, I've been here a few times, and every time I was hoping to just get here and find a job and get a visa, but it's not that simple. Another big challenge was the fact that I didn't have a college degree, and that's what a lot of employers are looking for. So it took a while to get to this point, but yeah, that was one of the harder things.
How did you make it this time?
So one, during COVID, I knew I wasn't going to come to Japan because, you know, there was no people coming in and out of Japan. So I decided to get my degree in digital cinematography just for the hopes of getting my visa. So that's the reason why I'm able to get my visa this time.
I decided to look for employment over here and I got a job as an English teacher. The JET program is the Japanese English teaching program.
That's what it was. I remember. Is a YouTuber, what the heck's his name? Chris Broad. I watched his content when I was thinking about going to Japan. I binged every single piece of content he put out as far as like learning the language tips and what life is kind of like in Japan for a foreigner and all this stuff and different cultural things to look out for and this and that and the other. And he was a part of this program, I think. I think he was part of this program and he was an English teacher for a long time and while doing so became a YouTuber and then he sort of kicked off from there.
It's a private program sanctioned by the government, I think. If that's
it's official, yeah.
Official, right?
Yeah.
You got to have a degree, but it's also over before there was less ALT private companies. Basically, being in the JET program was like the golden opportunity and the highest pay. So many people would apply. You have to write an essay. You have to go through multiple like interviews and things too. You have to show up usually outside of your city to interview in person as well on a panel of 3 judges, and the interview is quite serious. So that's why it's extremely competitive. So if you get into JET, amazing. If you don't, that's cool too. There's plenty of other opportunities to get into Japan.
Moving here was actually fairly easy after I did the research and figured out how other people had gone through the process of getting here. I reached out to a friend who connected me with an American who was teaching at something called a eikaiwa.
What is it?
And an eikaiwa basically is a English conversation school that many Japanese people will go to. They're usually near like a train station.
It's everywhere, yeah.
It's everywhere. Yeah, it's very, very common here.
It was really easy because if you try to get a normal apartment, they're not going to let you get one because they don't trust, not just foreigners, they just don't trust anybody. But if you go to a place that's like made for foreigners,
See his face. You see how his face like changed a little bit when he brought that up. Hold on a minute. Let's go back just a second. Subtle facial expressions are so funny to me.
In here.
it was really easy because if you try to
Here it
get a
comes.
normal apartment, they're not going to let you get one because they don't trust, not just foreigners, they just don't trust anybody. But if you go to a place that's like made for foreigners, it's kind of cheap and it's not that hard to get. So, and you guys could all get it really easily.
You came here as a student first, right?
Yep, came here as a student, studied a year abroad first. It was an amazing experience, and I never really came back to the States.
I have citizenship here, so I don't need to worry about visa. So I think I really lucked out on that end. It was really difficult when it came to finding an apartment, getting bank accounts, and all of that. So that was a really big surprise. I expected it to be a lot smoother than it was.
Wait, but you have Japanese passport and you speak Japanese, but it was hard because why?
Just because I didn't have a history of like living here. And when I came here, I still had not found a job. So on paper, I looked kind of sketchy. Like I was 22, no job. I did have a bachelor's degree from the States, but in general, I think it was just really difficult for me to be taken seriously as someone that's like trying to make a living here.
When you moved to Japan, what was the first culture shock that you have as an American?
It is super safe here. Like I moved here from New York City and
Not say. Did I not say? That's why I made the clarification that the rest of the US is not like a New York City. It is not like LA. Okay, I don't want these people to give you the wrong impression. Okay, America is very diverse. It's very different state to state, and there are a lot of safe states, And even New York as a state is fairly safe, but when you get to the big like metropolis type cities, you are going to run into a lot more crime than you would in a town of 30,000 people.
It's like super safe. Like I remember like going to like a coffee shop and I saw someone leave their keitai, like their cell phone, on the table and leave, and no one touched it.
Oh, also New York is like one of the worst places in the US right now. So, keep that in mind as well.
And I, would see people with their computers like leave and go to the bathroom or go outside and talk on the phone or something and come back, and nobody really bothers your stuff. And at night, it's super safe for women to walk home alone. I noticed that a lot. Like I'd walk home at like 2 or 3 in the morning and I'd see women.
I would say it's fairly mixed. There are still incidences that are fairly public that you could look up in Japan from all the different videos and research that I've done on Japan. Um, there are times, I would say it's more the crimes that they do are less punished, but more subtle. So like it's not like a brazen like I would say the US is more violent. But in Japan it's more of like a subtle creepy crime. There's multiple instances where streamers have been live showing off Japan and they have to step in because this one Japanese guy is like stalking this Japanese girl because they have a weird like sexual fucking fear undertone in Japan for some reason. Well, not even fear really. It's more of just like a I don't know what you would even call it, like a weird stigma. It'd be like a stigma. It's got like a weird stigma in Japan. So like everybody's like very weird about like sexual stuff there where we're just like in America we're also outspoken. It's not really something that anybody's like, "Oh, I don't know about that." And it's played up a lot in anime and stuff. Obviously, it's extreme, but um, it there is an undertone that exists, and it's weird, so it causes people to do weird things.
Alone also is in New York. You can't really drink that much and pass out, but people here, if you see someone passed out or sleep in public, nobody's touching their watch. No one's touching their.
What kind of stupid fucking reason is that? Why are you putting yourself in a position of which somebody could take advantage of you? That's just bad. No matter where in the world you are, you could be in the middle of the ocean on a cruise by yourself. It's just not a good idea. It's just not in general.
Expensive bag, like it's super safe.
Compared to the rest of Japan, it's big city, lots of people, and yet so many people, but everyone is kind of in their own lane, not really trying to socialize until you're in that environment. But in other countries, you can just anywhere kind of just spark a conversation. But it's also possible here
True,
that the
true.
feeling is a little bit different, where people that really don't want to interact make it clear.
Especially for Americans, I think, because when I went to the States for the first time, like I was so shocked that people started talking on the street,
Yeah.
and that never happened in Japan. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's why it's a big difference coming here and then having people that are like very close and like maybe you have some fashion thing that they might want to comment on, but they just won't say anything.
I think how annual holidays are celebrated, for example, Christmas. Well, Halloween's different too, but especially Christmas is very different than maybe, for example, the religious aspects taken out of it, as well as the family aspect. It's more for couples. So it's kind of like a pre-Valentine's Day event. So,
Yeah, that's true. You know the word kuribocchi? Can you explain kuribocchi?
So kuribochi, basically, I've seen many restaurants and cafes saying, "Oh, if you're a couple, don't come in here. It's only really made for single people on Christmas." So like you're not making them feel worse about themselves. So it's kind of a safe space for single people on Christmas. I've seen that. I've seen that.
Japanese guys will pay to go to bars just to talk to girls. Now it's totally normal for
Host clubs.
me, but like, imagine going to a bar to pay to talk to somebody when you could just go to a bar and not pay and talk to somebody.
Yeah, because like the most predominantly, like it just made me think of host clubs because like host clubs are like a predominantly male space for females, but then you also have like all sorts of different like themed bars and stuff. Like I saw a video, um there was a video of a Japanese YouTuber who takes a British guy, takes him around to like different bars and stuff, and one of them was like a steampunk bar, and the other one was a typical cat girl bar, and it was like it was just so interesting to me that there's like so many of these types of places. And then you have like you can go even crazier than that and just start talking about love hotels and it just gets crazier and crazier. Japan is like such a cool place. I still do want to visit. I may not live there, but it would be nice. I do want to climb Mount Fuji at some point in my life.
Why do you think? Why do you think it does exist here?
I think it's a good way to like bond with you. I guess your male, your coworkers. It's just a way to have a meeting and write off a meeting. And if you go to an expensive place, the girls are like literally talented. Sorry, I said literally. That's such a stupid word to say. They're really talented. Like they're really good at speaking. Like if you go to Ginza, that's their job. All they do is speak every day. So it's like a pretty entertaining thing. I don't go, but I have been.
I don't go.
I was really surprised how different relationships are here. My impression is that like everyone cheats. I think that's not the case in America. But when you ask Japanese people like, "Have you ever cheated before?" They'll go like, "No, never." And if you ask them again, they'll be like, "Ikai dake," just once. And then you ask them again, they'll be like, "Jukai dake," just 10 times.
I assume you have lots of Japanese friends and stuff. Do you think it's actually true, or what do you think? Like, is that misconception, or?
I definitely have Japanese friends that don't cheat, but it's hard to know whether they're telling the truth too. But I think there are loyal people here, but there's also like the fuzoku and things like that, which like whether that's cheating or not is a debate among Japanese people. I'm sure
That's in yeah. Making cheating a gray area is literally cheating.
you've seen.
Or what about your friends? What do they say about is that prostitution count as cheating, or?
I think girls usually will say like if it's for business, it's common that like business people will go there with like senpai, for example. That's okay, but if you go by yourself, then it's cheating.
When it comes to the lifestyle, how different is in Japan and the United States?
I think one of the biggest differences here is the size of my apartment. The living spaces are quite small here, especially if you live like in the inner city, like here in Shibuya. In New York City, my apartment was a little bit older, but I'm like 6'3", right? I'm quite tall for Japan. So some of the initial apartments I lived in, I had to like duck to get into the apartment, or I had to duck to get in from the living space into the bathroom.
That's probably like the biggest no for me when I was looking up Japan and different stuff. And it's like I can't live a compact life. That's just not who I am.
Fortunately, now I live in a pretty modern space, so I don't have to duck, but I think one of the biggest challenges here was my height. As sort of like a 6'3" black man living in Japan, I never really have to worry about people being really afraid of me, or I feel kind of safe, especially with the police. Like if the police stop me here and ask to see my resident card, I have no fear. I just take it out and show it to them. But if the police were to stop me in New York City or stop me in Virginia, I have a sense of anxiety and fear.
That's bullshit. You need to stop reading all them fucking headlines there, buddy. Like maybe in the off chance you had a bad run-in, a bad experience, but I would be 100% willing to pull the body cam on that and see who was really the aggressor, who was really the one who was apprehensive in that situation. Oftentimes, somebody can be more abrasive under stress. So, if you are putting in your head that the world is out to get me, the world is out to get me, the world is out to get me, they don't like me, they don't like me, they don't like me, they're coming after me, they're coming after me, they're coming after me. that is going to put you in a state of stress and can cause you to act abrasive, even though you normally, if you were just acting normal, as this guy is explaining without explaining it, um, this wouldn't be an issue. He would have done the same thing. Here you go, sir. Oh, okay. Well, it seems everything's in order. You have yourself a good rest of your day. Done. That's all you got to do. Comply, and everything will be over.
Of the threat of violence. And that
Threat of violence, no way.
does not exist here.
Probably commuting is the most different, America versus Japan, because especially where I'm from in Oklahoma and Texas, we're very kuruma, car, vehicle reliant. So like we use our
Y'all don't know the half of it. Y'all got it easy. Super, super easy. Like, how much you want to bet this woman flew direct? I don't even know what the fuck that is.
our car for every.
I took 4 fucking flights to get to Hawaii. 4. And 2 on the way back, which is weird. Like, somehow I gained 2 more to go there and then lost 2 to get back. I don't know.
Everything. We sat in traffic for hours in the weeks commuting back and forth to work. But like, you know, in Japan, we're either remote work now or we're on the commuter
Or
train.
was Tulsa,
So, and you
Oklahoma.
have to walk a lot.
I
My
didn't see it
friends
up there
come
in the
into
top
Japan
right.
to visit from America.
Also,
I
hit that
can hear them,
subscribe
like,
button
we're
down
walking around, and I'm
below
like,
me, right?
like,
Wait, wait,
it's
wait,
a lot of
wait.
walking. So I'm
wait.
like, oh, I forget we use our cars to travel everywhere. So yeah, I think
Down
I
there.
think-
It's right down
so
there.
just like the
Subscribe
daily
button.
aspect of walking.
Hit it.
So
Subscribe to the
much.
channel.
I would say in general, it's really, really different. Just my daily life is very different. I lived by myself since I was 19 in the States, especially during college. I was living in Portland.
Rookie numbers.
And I definitely think Japan is a lot safer. So I feel like just the daily stress of like having to
I can agree with that. I can. Comparing it to Portland, probably. It definitely probably is safer. Um, and I don't know much about Virginia. Maybe Virginia's bad. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I think Japan would be pretty even with most states in the U.S.
go out, even if it's at night. Like I don't really stress out that much here. Like for example, I had to for like a photo shoot, I had to meet at the station at around 5:30, and I didn't have a first train out of my nearest station. So I walked with my luggage for 30 minutes to a different station. And it was 4 o'clock in the morning. Like I could never do that in America and feel safe. But for me, like as long as I don't.
That's false. You can 100% do that in America in multiple different places. Just don't live in a dangerous city. Easy.
Don't have my headphones in or I feel pretty alert, like it's not really an issue.
I think Japanese life is much more convenient and it's much cheaper. Like if Americans come to Japan right now, it's like a 30% off Black Friday sale on everything in the country. Food is delicious, people are really friendly, Japanese is fun. It's great. I noticed simple things are different. Like I lived in New York for a little bit and people would just like dance in the subway station and like sing with their headphones on. And that sort of behavior is kind of like frowned upon here. It makes you look a little bit weird, like you're distracting others. But I kind of miss that a little bit. I want to be weird, but I don't know. I feel like it's not good.
Yeah, saying the
Go do some karaoke. Go hit up a bar. Okay, get with some salary men, right? Say, hey, karaoke, karaoke, and y'all go to the karaoke bar. And let me tell you,
States, you want to switch one of your foods for another food or get something out, you can do it. In Japan, they get like, wait, what? You want to, you know what I mean? Or this is something that happened the other day. Like, say they had whipped cream pancakes last month, but do you have whipped cream pancakes? And they'll say, no, we don't have whipped cream pancakes this month. And you'll be like, well, there's whipped cream on the cake there. Can you put the whipped cream from the cake on the pancakes? And they'll be like, no. So what you do is you say, can I have the whipped cream cake, but without the cake, just the whipped cream and the pancakes, and just put the whipped cream on the pancake. Wakaru.
No flexible.
So not flexible. You kind of have to work around it.
I think the biggest difference in mindset between sort of like an American mindset and a Japanese mindset, to be very general, is Americans are focused on individualism.
Right.
And I feel like Japanese society is focused on collectivism. Like,
Collectivism. I do agree. I do agree. I do agree. Um, I'm actually surprised. Like, the more that I like look into other countries, the more it seems like the U.S. is like the only country that really like pushes for their children to leave the home, to go out, to start something new. But I guess that's where that's where that like independent like conquerors mentality comes from in the US, is the fact that we do face individual challenges and we do set ourselves on a path of growth through our own individual means. And if you're lucky enough, you still have your parents to back you up in case you do make a mistake or two along the way, right? But I know for me especially, I was 100% alone. I was 100% alone. Um, my aunt and uncle were there from when did they take me in? I think they took me in when I was like 12 or 13, and then I left on my own when I was 16 going on 17. So, yeah, every life lesson I learned up until that point, I did not have them to go to. Not that I couldn't, it's just I never chose to. I simply learned these lessons on my own, and I took it on the chin, and I was like, all right, how do I not get into this situation again?
Americans are socialized to think, what is best for me? What do I want to do for me? Where do I want to go? What do I like? Whereas I feel like in Japanese culture, there's a focus on, I don't know how to say it, it's like wa culture. There's a focus on like the group and what's best for the group and how the group can come together and form a synergy for the group to move forward.
Right.
Whereas in the US, I feel like it's like, how can I move forward? Not my whole squad or group.
I could agree with that. I could agree with that.
When you say you're from the United States, how do Japanese people react? What's their general impression?
So I think I have to explain, not to Americans, but to people outside America, that America is so big. We're so many cultures inside of this big landmass. And not just Japanese, but when anyone who's non-American thinks of America, you think of cowboys, or you think of the West Coast style, or you think of maybe New York City.
What did I say? What did I say? Now, all of you who put a fucking stupid bullshit ass fucking comment down in my comment section saying, no, you're wrong. That's not what people think. That's not what people. Blah, blah, blah. Fuck off. Delete your comment. Where I'm just going to clip this and respond to you with a clip.
And like New Yorkers. But yeah, I think it's that kind of image of like, oh, do you have guns? Do you shoot? Are you like this, that? Yeah, the gun.
Yes. Yes, I do have guns. And yes, I do shoot. And yes, it is so fucking fun.
Question a lot.
Have you ever seen the movie Rush Hour with Jackie Chan?
Yep.
They think you're Chris Tucker. You know, they think you're like super overreactive. Like if you eat
Funny
sushi,
guy.
yeah. Oh, sushi, it's so good. Wow, I really like the sushi. It's so
Exaggerating.
so exaggerating. Like they think that foreigners are really energetic and stuff. But you know, there's all different types of Japanese people, and there's all different types of non-Japanese people.
What I want to say is that I think especially Americans living in Japan, I think they're more like, tend to be like, in general, introverted. You know, like,
I think an interesting thing is back to what he was back to what he was saying about people being like really energetic and like in a hurry and stuff. This could be an easy impression that somebody would get if the only place in the US you visited was a city, because everybody in the city moves like their aunt just died and they got to get to the hospital. Like that's that's how quickly and seemingly they might be seeming to have a lot of energy when really it's just in a city you're really crunching against time to get stuff done. Everything's more expensive in the city, so you have to work more in order to achieve more, and it can wear on you. But if you take that dynamic and you go to a small town, you'll notice, and this actually, I think this is what gets on the nerves of a lot of Americans is when they go from a city to a small town and they get annoyed because nobody in that town is in a hurry at all. Nobody. Everybody's taking their time, moseying about. Um, so that is where probably the not even a misconception, but well, maybe it is a misconception that might come from as far as like the energetic part of it.
Compared to like Americans in America. I think because that's why they suit their personality to Japan, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is like, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I mean, a lot of nerds like Japan because they like anime, they like that type of culture. So
Based.
it's really good for you if you come here. Like, it's an easy country to be an introvert.
One thing that stands out for me is Japan seems so safe. On the other end, Japanese people think of America as not safe. So some people actually worried about coming here because
I'm loving this guy's reactions. This is the first time I've reacted to any of his videos, and my God, his reactions, peak cinema, dude. Let's take a look at that again. That I gotta see that again. That was funny.
safe. On the other end, Japanese people think of America as not safe. So some people actually worried about coming here
So good, man. I love it.
because of the gun violence that's going on in the US. So that was the biggest thing that people always mention when they come to talk to me about the States.
I think general impression that I think we all agree that Japanese people like the States. Japanese people kind of fantasize at the same time, but from your perspective, many Japanese people recognize United States is not safe.
Yeah, that's pretty much most people's impression of the US. Unless they've already been out of the country, that's usually the impression.
Yeah, this is why I like to clarify these things, and I might do some more of these videos because I do want to clear that up, especially because like part of where I work is in the tourism industry. We have a lot of people who work here on work visas. We have a lot of people who come and visit here. I met people from Germany for the first time last year. I met Aussies last week. And it was awesome because we had a snowstorm and they told me not to do the sidewalk because so okay, quick tangent. I know this is gonna be a long video, so suck it up. So, this Australian couple is staying here, and they they're a little bit older, probably mid 40s, probably. Uh, essentially, I was going around, I was cleaning off roads, cleaning off sidewalks, right? And I get to the lodge that they're staying in, or not the lodge, the cabin that they're staying in, and the wife of the couple comes out, and I'm about ready to do their walk. I'm walking up with a shovel, and she's like, in a Australian accent, she's like, uh, "Excuse me." I don't know how to do Australian, so bear with me. Um, she's like, "Excuse me, would it be okay if my husband did that?" And my face, I mean, I didn't show it, but in my head, my face was lighting up like it was fucking Christmas, bro. Because I was like, one, I just met an Aussie. That's super sick. Two, uh, she was super kind, super polite, and she was just like, "Hey, my husband has never seen anything like this. He would love to clean the walk," he said. So, um, I haven't done their walk, and I mean, I'll go and check on it, right? Because if they haven't done it like midway through the day, I don't want the guy to fucking like hurt himself moving snow. Because like right now it's not bad, it's pretty light, but when it does get heavy, it sucks to move. And so that's been a that's my little story time tangent. I should come up with like a little filter for that. It's like story time.
Impression.
Maybe that's true because like on even Japanese
That's what I need an
media, like
editor
they show
for.
a lot about gun shooting, like how corruption and everything in the States. Maybe that's why, yeah.
I've noticed that on the news or on social media in general, that the image of the U.S. is definitely being skewed in a way. But at the same time, in the U.S., when you're on social media, you also see these things. But it's just for the Japanese people to actually like cater it to that system, and it's not all about that, but it is like their
Yeah, it's like social media and mainstream media has ruined the perception of the United States. I will 100% agree with that. Ah, and it is annoying. It is annoying.
main, I don't know, the main quality of the U.S. Like this is happening in the U.S. Like this crazy stuff happens there. It doesn't happen here.
The impression or reaction I get to someone, it really depends on where their interests lie. For example, I met a friend and her aunt was quite older. I think her aunt was around maybe 65 or 70 years old. And I told her my name was Richard. And she was like, oh, like Richard Gere. Like, like the old white American actor, Richard Gere. I mentioned to another person that I was from the US, and they're like, you look like Snoop Dogg. And I look nothing like Snoop Dogg. I think it really depends on the person you're talking to and what their kind of connection is to America.
For the first time that I interacted with Asian people that were foreigners coming here to see the sights and visit, um, they so they went throughout their day of activities, and it was a late night for me, and I was getting ready to leave the lodge that they were staying at, and one of them stops me and says that I look like fat Post Malone. Now, granted, I was a little bit heavier last year when they told me that, but that was the highlight of my year. This shit was hilarious because um my first time that I ever got compared to a celebrity by an American was another guy. And this one was really awkward because I was at a bar, okay? I was in the bathroom at a urinal. The guy comes up, he pops into another urinal, two down from me, and he looks over and then he takes a double take and he's like, you remind me of Post Malone. And I never understood. I was like, why does everybody say I look like fucking Post Malone?
But I think
It was
most
funny
people
for that to
think
come full
when I
circle.
tell them I'm from New York City, for some reason they're quite impressed. I think New York City is kind of like this sort of, interesting place
Yeah, impressed you fucking survived. That place is a freaking hellhole.
for Japanese people.
For everyone in the world.
Yeah, I think it's like,
That's
it's amazing.
So when I say I'm from Florida, they just say Disney. And when I say I lived in Texas, they say cowboy. But generally, like their impression is really good of Americans, and they think they're all like beautiful and tall. Not the case. They really like American accents too. It reminds them of all of the media and movies and music and stuff.
How can I live in Japan? How do I find a job there? Any advice for moving to Japan? These are some of the questions that you guys ask me all the time. I keep saying the same thing. Learning Japanese is super important. And
100%. I mean, it's important regardless. Like, if you're gonna go to another country, if you're visiting for a week or whatever, you're on vacation, whatever. It's no big deal. But if you're planning to live there for a significant amount of time, learning the language, it's not gonna hurt you. It's only gonna help you. So just do it.
yeah, I get it. Japanese is very hard. Even I struggle with kanji sometimes. But the easiest way to learn Japanese is with private.
Fuck kanji. Hiragana and katakana is okay. I'm okay with that. I'm pretty good at that. Kanji can suck my nuts. Okay? Say that. Say that in Japanese. Suck my nuts.
Teacher. And I highly recommend checking out Preply. With over 1500 Japanese tutors, you can find the perfect teacher. You can filter based on your interests. Whether you're
That's cool.
aiming out to pass JLPT, need business Japanese, or just want to get better at everyday conversation, Preply has got you covered. Here's a tip. Consistency is a key when learning languages.
That's why I fell off. Because once I got to a point to where I kind of started feeling it was hopeless, right? Because like when I was learning it, I didn't know about these tools and I didn't find out about these tools until I'd already given up on it. I think I was like a few months after I'd given up on it, and then I found a YouTube video that was like, "Hey, look at all these tools for learning Japanese," and it's just like, "Are you fucking serious?" um, but I was using like different tools anyway, as far as like putting like conversational pieces together. And my brother, he was learning at the time, so like I could bounce off him a little bit, and we would try to have conversations, but learning broken Japanese from somebody else who's speaking broken Japanese is not good for learning Japanese. So, um, eventually I got busier in my life and I was just like, all right, well, I'm not gonna keep wasting my time on this. I gotta focus on this other thing, and I ended up pushing it out. But I think that was my biggest problem was there aren't like almost zero Japanese people here in the US. Um, just I mean, don't take that literally, obviously. I mean, there are not very many here where if I wanted to learn Mandarin, I could go literally an hour north, and there are Chinese people there that I could learn from, I could speak to. So that's where the beginning and the end lie as far as learning languages like that here in the US.
And Preply make it easier to stick with it because you can find private teacher that fits your schedule perfectly. No more excuses for not learning Japanese. Remember that in real life, we Japanese people don't speak with subtitles like in anime, so make sure to learn Japanese. Get a 50% discount on your first lesson at Preply by clicking in the description below. Okay, let's get back to interviews. After living in Japan for 3 years, how do you see the United States as a country? The perspective from outside of the country.
It's kind of embarrassing being American abroad, to be
Really?
honest.
I knew there'd at least be one.
I don't know.
Why?
Just like looking at like what other countries are doing, especially like even like sustainable wise. I don't know. I don't think the US is like on par.
Did you have that feeling when you were in the States? Or you started having that feeling after living in Japan?
I think because I've moved so many places before, I've always kind of felt like that. Definitely being in Japan, like now, definitely like reinforce that view I had.
Being from the South, like the America no Minami, like where I'm from, it goes God, family, country. So being a patriot means, you know, you're also a good Christian. It means like you're also a dedicated person. Like it's really like serious. So like since I've been maybe 4 or 5 years old, we started doing the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. So you've got these like little kids like taking a pledge to a country using words they really don't understand. So like that's something we don't do in Japan public school. Like we don't do that. And so like other countries, they don't have Pledge of Allegiance to their countries. In Texas they have two. They have a state allegiance to Texas, and then they have one to the USA. So like doing that and then constantly hearing that the USA is the best country. You won't find a better country than the USA. This and that. America's the best.
I think there's a lot of ways that like you could try to discredit the US, but in many ways, I would argue we are. For example, freedom of speech. Yeah, there are countries that are close to having freedom of speech, but we truly do have freedom of speech. You can be the dumbest person on the planet and you can believe the earth is flat. And that opinion can be voiced and won't be silenced. Now, there are there are other things as far as like money for money, right? Let's take the UK for example. I know that there's a lot of like very expensive places in the UK that really just don't give you much, and you end up with like on-street parking and a house in these like cul-de-sacs where it's just like it's not as big as you probably think it should be for the amount that you paid for it. But here in the US, like the house that you could get for that same amount of money is freaking massive. It's got like a two-car garage, like uh things in the US, they reward you for being um ambitious. They reward you for being um what's the other word? Can't think of what the it's gonna bother me. What was I thinking of? Anyway, the point is, I'm not gonna stick on this all fucking day. The point of what I'm saying is that the U.S. has many flaws, but it also has many strengths, and that national pride is the reason why that if we say or do anything, it affects world change. You know, a majority of the world's countries watch our presidential election. We don't even know who the fuck your presidents are. So let that sink in. If we weren't the greatest country in the world, nobody would care. Another example of why patriotism is important is the US and Canada hockey game that just happened the other night. Uh, so both teams are on the ice. Canada national anthem hits, Americans don't do anything. America's national anthem hits and they get booed out of the fucking stadium. But what happens? The puck lands, everything starts off. The Americans start a fight with the Canadians immediately. There's 3 fights in 9 seconds. Just immediately the both teams threw hands and then the Americans spanked them 3-1. And we're talking an elite level of hockey. Canada's sport. That's like them getting a NFL football team coming into the US and defeating our one of our best teams in the playoffs. Actually no, defeating our best team, our all USA team in the playoffs and going on to face another country while the US still has to struggle to work their way up. That's embarrassing as shit. Your national game just got taken from you. That's why. That's why we push the patriotism. That's why we push that we're the greatest country in the world. So that way, when we are on the enemy's line, we can look you in the eye and take everything like it was ours to begin with. That's the point. It's a conqueror's mentality, like I was saying earlier. And obviously, not everybody's like that. Not everybody thinks that way. That's the beauty of the diversity in America. And that's where the checks and balances happen because for every conqueror, you have to have somebody who is uh, willing to make peace, right? It's always good to have guidance.
And we're number one. We're the most free country in the world, you know. But realistically, once you step out of that, once you go live in other places, experience other places, like other places have constitutions, other places have freedoms. Honestly, I feel better taken care of in Japan as even though I'm a non-citizen, I am a working resident, a tax-paying resident of Japan. But I feel better taken care of than a US citizen in America because even though I'm American, because I have health insurance in Japan and I have like, you know, I don't have to worry about going into medical debt. You know, even if I don't speak, you know, fluent Japanese or I'm not Japanese. Nationally, it doesn't matter. They'll still take care of you. They'll still, I don't have to worry about getting shot. I don't.
The likelihood of her being shot, she probably have a better chance of winning the lottery, if I'm being honest. And that's how it is for most Americans. It gets overblown because the media fucking reports on everything. So they're like constantly showing this, right? And sure, you might have a higher chance if you live in a particularly dangerous area, but then just get out of that fucking area. Leave. That's the point. Okay? It's dangerous. It has shown you the signs and symptoms that it is dangerous. Leave. You can't blame the person who shot you if you decided that 5 years earlier you were never going to leave that place that you were in. That situation never would have happened. You wouldn't have been there. But you were because you stayed. And that guy just happened to choose you. Shit. It sucks. Well, make better decisions. Okay? It's common sense. Common sense. That's what we're getting back to here. Um, but the other thing
Have to worry about going into medical debt.
that the medical thing is obviously an issue in the U.S. I do think there is a massive overreach, which is slowly being corrected. Um, since Trump is finally, doing something about it. When the former presidents should have, and that includes Trump in his previous term, they should have pulled out of that fucking deal with the goddamn medical industry a long time ago. World Health Organization, fuck right off. Okay. I think I saw something. It was like every like 1 in 4 Americans were on some type of prescription, which is fucking insane. That's not okay. That creates a very unstable society. And I feel like a lot of those medical issues are either overdiagnosed or they simply could be avoided if you made those people responsible and accountable for their own personal choices. And they would have a much better outlook on life. But that's the reason why the medical industry makes as much as it does. I'll say it this way: you have no reason to go to a hospital unless you broke a leg or you contracted some sort of disease or cancer or something that requires very technical medical equipment. Um, I'll even add one. I'll add one. Even some sort of surgery. If you need life-saving surgery, then you go to the hospital. But anything else, suck it the fuck up. Stay home. Take a few fucking Tylenol. Eat a fat steak and some potatoes. Actually, I'm not even that. Actually, get a pizza. Get a pizza. Like steak and potatoes, like it's good, it's hearty, but I just get a pizza. If I'm being me, I'm just getting a pizza.
Um, even if I don't speak, fluent Japanese or I'm not Japanese. Nationally, it doesn't matter. They'll still take care of you. They'll still, I don't have to worry about getting shot. I don't have to worry about, if my friends' kids or if I'm going to work, as a teacher, if I'm going to run into like a situation where I have to defend my class from like a gunman and like just seeing that and like
Again, it's another overblown media fucking reporting on these crazy situations that happen. The likelihood of it happening is again, you might as well win the fucking lottery because it's likely not gonna happen to you during your lifetime. Maybe your kids as kids or their kids as kids, but um, the way things are turning, hopefully we can work our way out of it.
having to explain that to my family back home, it makes me really sad because like we get like instilled in us so hard. dare I say, brainwashed. No country's perfect.
Right.
Japan's not perfect too, and there's a lot that I love about the USA, and like my family's still there. But yeah, you just start to really see and reflect on the quality of life is better in other countries. And, you know, even though we're constantly told we're the best, we're number one. And that's really sad because that's your country. Like,
I really don't know what kind of experience that this girl has had, but America's been nothing but kind to me. I think it really comes down to your personal experience. Obviously, if you live in a place that can cause these sort of issues to happen, you're more likely to have a harder life. But you can take it from me. I came from a really shit life. Really shit. Now, I'm not going to get everybody on the fucking tear fest or anything like that. I don't care about that shit. Okay? What I care about is getting the word out that America isn't what you make it out to be. It's it gets overblown, and especially Americans, they tend to overblow it themselves because at the end of the day, I guarantee you she goes back home and none of the shit that she says here probably even takes place, probably ever happens, probably ever comes close to the likelihood of it happening. Probably pretty small, even for the fact that she's been a part of several cities, which is increases the chances. And I was born and raised in a city, and then I lived in another city several years, but I also got away from the city, and now I live in a much smaller town, and I can't tell you how much more I could fucking love it out here, you know? But you gotta be independent if you live out here, because you're not just gonna be able to call plumber Bob to come fix your fucking drain when you fill it with when your girlfriend fills it with her hair or whatever. You got to be somewhat independent to live out here, which I do think is kind of intimidating for people. So I think people who don't have true independence in the U.S. do have kind of like a glazed lens on how they look at the world because their experience is so much different than somebody who truly does take on the U.S. values. So I don't know.
it's just, it's disappointing. And it's disappointing that I have to see my friends and family go through this still in America. That's all.
After living here
Again, see how she says it? She phrases it like it's some fucking disease. It's not something that is common enough to where anyone anywhere would have to worry about it constantly, especially. That's such an overblown fucking narrative to push. It's crazy.
for a while, and then I look back in
That's
the
what I'm here to
States,
check.
one thing
Here to
I think
fact
of is
check
I
these
don't really
things.
want to go back to live there. I don't really need to. It's a bit of a circus, in my opinion. Like me, I'm not very political, so when I see this political stuff happening,
This I can say, I can agree with him on this. The politics stuff has blown out of proportion. It is at a point to where, like, this isn't the case with me and my friends, right? Because me and my friends are actual friends. Well, most of y'all got fake friends. But if you're separating yourself from anyone due to political views, then you're a piece of shit. I don't care if it's family. I don't care if it's friends. I don't care if it's fucking Jim Bob that you work with at the plant, okay? Or in the office or whatever. Um, letting something as simple as politics divide you as a people is like the most ridiculous concept to me.
I get very conspiracy theorist about it, about like things that are happening on purpose. Like there's a systematic system of school shootings for a reason. It's not just a natural occurrence, you know? There's stuff like that happening in the States. So it's like a show, it's a circus. That's how I think of it.
Okay, so he's stupid. Listen, that means you have hope too. You watching this video. If this stupid ass can make it to Japan, so can you. Best of luck.
And I don't want to participate. So
People are really direct and honest with you all the time. And sort of like American friendships are based on honesty. people telling each other exactly what they're doing all the time.
A lot of people are, so this is more for a foreigner. If you're a foreigner watching this, this is more for you. Americans are very outspoken, and this is like throughout America, like end to end, we are all outspoken. You are not going to find very few, if any, um, kind of uh, reserved Americans where we don't really give like the subtle hints and cues that like a Japanese person would, or somebody in the UK or something like that, where like the body language and the kind of the general vibe isn't like don't talk to me, like that type of thing. Or in the case of the Japanese person, it's like sorry, you're kind of making me uncomfortable, but I don't want to tell you that, so I'm just trying to give you like these subtle like facial cues and stuff that like I really want to be out of this situation. um so I do think that is definitely a thing. It's definitely something that I would say is the most common trait for everyone in America.
Time. But Japanese people try to like save face a little bit, or sometimes they try to not say things that they think will upset you. And this can make it difficult to relate to people in a
See?
really close way. So I think
I heard that people in Scandinavia are like this too. In like Norway and stuff, they're like slightly reserved.
America's a good place to make friends.
Living in Japan, again, like it's just so much
Oh my God, especially if you have an accent. If you have a foreign accent in America, oh, it'll be like so instantaneous.
safer, the daily stress of that. And so when I look back on my experiences in America, especially, I just don't think that I would feel comfortable moving back. The daily stress of like having to go out and like being careful about time and knowing which routes I want to take, and especially like living and, as a 20.
This comes back to what I was saying. Move somewhere that is safe to live. There are in abundance of places that you can live, including quite a few cities, actually. So if you like the city life, there are quite a few cities that are undoubtedly safe to live. Okay, not every city's got the same problems that plague a metropolis city like a New York.
20s young girl living on my own, that's a really big concern for me. I think especially looking from Japan, America does have a lot of like freedom of expression, and like I think people are allowed to be a lot more open with who they are and express themselves in so many different ways, whereas here I do think
True.
sometimes I have to kind of like not tone myself down, but just make sure I'm expressing myself a bit more appropriately.
It's a lot more relaxed. Like in Japan, people are a little bit more thorough with everything that they do. America's more like time is money. Let's move, let's move, let's move. And Japan is like, I'm going to wrap your present perfectly. You know what I mean? Like totally different cultures for sure. But I think, I mean, America has good points too. But I've been here since I was 19, basically. So I don't know what it's like.
Your whole adulthood was in Japan.
Yeah. My entire adulthood was in Japan, and it's easy for me to live here. I think America, it would take me, I don't know, maybe a year to get used to living there again. Yeah.
What do you miss about the United States? What do you miss your home country?
Los tacos. Tacos, Mexican food. Yeah.
From
From a country that isn't Mexico.
California.
Yeah, from California. In Japón, los
Oh
tacos son muy
God.
caros.
That's it?
They're super, yeah, nothing American, just the tacos.
There was something that I learned about. Was it a burrito? It's in one of my previous videos. There's like a state food in California that looked like really good. I think it was like a burrito or something like that. I gotta look that up again. If I do ever go to California, which if I did, definitely wouldn't be like Southern California. It would be like Northern California because like you're not gonna catch me in LA. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mexican.
Back in the States, I do talk to my friends a lot about like social issues or politics, but I feel like that's not really a priority for a lot of people, at least my.
There's your mistake. Why are you talking to your friends about social issues and politics? Get better friends. That's like something me and my friends never talk about. And if we do, it's like very rare.
age here, and so it's a little bit harder to get into conversations
Actually, to second that, that's like the thing that we talk about when we run out of things to talk about.
about like misogyny and patriarchy and politics and things
Oh, so she's a psycho. Good to know.
like that.
You like
Gotta watch out for those ones. Okay, if they're into this sort of weird shit, just stay away from them, guy or girl. Okay, if they're talking about this, save yourself before it gets bad. Okay, these people are crazy. Just be a normal American. Okay, just be normal. Okay, don't be weird. Be normal.
to talk about it?
I do like to talk about it, yeah.
It might be debatable, but I really miss like being around like Americans as a group. Like if you put politics aside and religion aside, there's something really cool about Americans, and I think we're
She's
just like
cooking.
good spirited, really fun people, and I think we know how to come together when we need to.
Hell yeah, fuck you, Canada.
And I think that's something really dope about us. So
It's
I would
jokes.
say, like,
Calm
I don't know,
down.
I do miss Americans.
As my family and friends, I miss them.
But that's
They
it.
miss me. But other than that, yeah, I'm good being here. Honestly, like I will tell you, my feeling was that I was homesick for Japan while I was living in the U.
We don't want you back. After the crap that you said before, you can keep your conspiracy theories to yourself. You're weird. Just stay out of the States. Stay in Japan. We'll send you a postcard.
U.S. after going there the first time.
Oh.
So I was always ready to come live here because I wanted to come experience it once and say, okay, I could actually live here. And ever since then, I've been wanting to come live here. So now I'm home right now.
Living in Japan for 14 years. Can you imagine yourself going back to the States to live there again for a long time?
To be honest with you, the first answer is no. I feel very comfortable here. The only thing that I worry about is as my family gets older, I kind of miss the sense of being connected to my family. So I kind of want to be close to my family, but I also really enjoy my life here.
I can completely understand that sentiment because, like, if you have somebody who gets, like, really, really sick, getting yourself a flight from Japan to get home, especially when you're no longer on an American budget, you're now living off of a Japanese budget, it's gonna make it so much harder to come back. Now, if for some reason the tables were to either become even or switch in Japan's favor, then obviously it becomes easier to come back to the States whenever you want. But because the US dollar dwarfs Japanese money, uh I could see where difficulties would arise if for some reason you needed to make an emergency trip back because of some family situation or something like that. I totally get it.
I really appreciate this culture, but sometimes I miss the familiarity of my family.
I really like Japan. I want to live here for
That's
a
fair.
long time.
That's fair.
I think as I get better at Japanese, I'll start to like it more, I hope. And if that's the case and business continues to do well, I think I'll stay here.
Rest of your life.
Cool.
I think it's possible. I just don't know. If I had kids later in life, I'm not sure I would want to raise them here because I think it's too safe.
What do you mean? Isn't it good?
I think if you're raised in a place that's this safe, you can't really live anywhere else. I think that's why Japanese people don't leave.
I really like that. It's basically the same concept. So everybody knows, at least I hope most people know who Serena Williams is. But that's the concept that her father, for her and her sister, he moved them to, I think he moved them to Compton. And like there were times where they would be practicing tennis and stuff like that, and then they'd have to hit the deck because there were shots popping off. And it's a notoriously dangerous neighborhood, but he moved them there on purpose because put a little fucking elbow grease in them, fucking, it made them tough. That's the point. Obviously, is it a risk? Fuck yeah, it is. Raising two daughters in a notoriously dangerous neighborhood, that's a big risk. But if it works, those two daughters of yours could kick anybody's ass. They're not taking shit from nobody. And it kind of gives them that raw kind of killer mentality that they need to be successful in a sport type of environment. So you add competitiveness on top of that and then discipline, and holy shit, you get a Serena Williams out of that. And I can't remember her sister's name.
Very often, it's like once you get used to that, everywhere else seems dangerous.
That's so true. Yeah, I mean that's why I think many Japanese people get scammed, picked up, robbed, maybe in other countries because we don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, like I've had lots of Japanese friends like get their wallets stolen on the subway in New York and things like that. Like,
Again, I get that people want to go to these places, but you got to be careful. When you're talking about a metropolis-like city, because like smaller cities, you're not going to have this issue. I want to be very clear. Smaller cities, for the most part, you're not going to run into the issue where somebody's going to try to steal your fucking wallet, okay? But in a big city, in a metropolis, there's not enough police. Even in well-funded police departments, there are not enough police to keep that many people safe. So you will run into situations where you just gotta be that guy.
it's just things they don't expect in Japan.
That's
But
true.
it sucks because it ruins their vibe of America.
My husband is Japanese, so it really depends on his work too.
Yep.
We've discussed like trying America too, and he really loves America. And you know, now that I'm getting older too, in my 30s, that
If you're a foreigner watching this, let me know down in the comments if you would like me to come up with a travel plan for you that you would like. It would be themed around wildlife. So if you do want to see the wildlife of America, and really get like a true sense of the heart of America rather than just the coasts, let me know. Maybe I'll make a video.
I have to start thinking about family. When you're in your 20s, you don't really think about. You're like, oh, just you come over to Japan to have fun, to just we'll see what happens in the future. But now, once you start getting older and you get married, it's like okay, you start planning for families. Where do I want to put my kids? There's so many like positive things about being close to my family in America too. And Japan's always my home, but like yeah. It's a tough question. It's still not sure, but for now we're comfortable in Japan.
I want to stay here for a little bit longer, and then I'm most likely going to go back to the States. I want to stay, but the wage is kind of low.
What about this condition then? Like you can make money in USD, live in Japan.
Oh, I would stay.
Definitely will not.
Well, obviously you'd stay if you made USD in Japan. Duh. That's anywhere where your dollar's worth more than what the native country's worth.
Not live in the United States again. It's too crazy. I don't even know if I want to live in Japan. I could just travel around anywhere I want. So,
No, in the States.
I mean, I might travel.
That's what I would love to do. I would love to travel around and see different places. Because, like, I mean, I can speculate, right, from the research that I've done. I think Japan is probably the one that I know the most because I was under the prospect of possibly going there on a work visa type situation. So I spent over a year looking into Japan, whereas other places that I want to visit, like Ireland or Scotland or uh, I don't really want to go to like I don't really feel like going to France. I mean, I just feel like it's a waste of time. Like maybe if it's like maybe to just go through Paris once, maybe like that's it. Other than that, I really don't care. Um, Germany, Poland, I really want to go to. I want to go to Poland. Um, just because it's like that's a place that like I know of, but I don't like know hardly anything about it. I think it would be very cool to go to Poland. Um, and I'm sure there's more places. Australia, I do want to go to Australia. There was a place that I was thinking about going. Was it last year? I think it was like early spring last year. I was thinking about going to Australia. Um, but me and my friend ended up canceling that trip. But that would have been cool. I might reevaluate that one. Maybe that's what I'll do.
I'm in the States for 3 months, but I mean, Europe would be kind of fun. Some parts of maybe Singapore would be fun. You know, South America, dude. I want to go to Brazil, Central America, maybe Mexico.
True.
Haven't decided, but I don't know if I'd stay here forever either.
At least as of now, I can see myself staying in Japan long term. I think for me, as long as the political climate in America is like the way that it is now, I don't really see myself moving back. I definitely want a family in the future. And so, especially for that reason, I think raising them in Japan would be a bit better.
So my original plan was to come stay here, live here, make a family here. And then if I want to travel, I can always travel, but I wanted to make Japan home. So that's still the case.
Okay. Never changed.
Never changed.
Okay. Any advice for Americans who want to move to Japan or live in Japan?
Definitely. If you're like broke and in America and you've always wanted to come to Japan like I did, I have really good practical advice, so lock in. What you should do is like keep working your boring job for like 3 to 6 months, save up as much as you can, go on GoGo Nihon or some other website and find like a very cheap language school. There's 3 types of language schools. One is just like cheap for a visa. One is like you actually learn. And then the top one is like only Chinese and Korean students that learn Japanese really fast. So choose wisely. Then once you do that, they'll take care of the visa process. You can live here for 2 years. Upon arrival, you'll get free national insurance, or it's very cheap. If you live in like the center of America, you should buy a really cheap flight ticket to like Los Angeles on like Spirit or Frontier. And then you should take
Do not, do not follow that part of his advice, please. I would rather not see you dead or worse because I'm just saying, Spirit and the other one that he was saying, those are PvP planes, okay? PvP. Player versus player. Person versus person. Okay? If I was you, I would just grab an American Airlines flight, take that shit to LA.
like a $300 direct flight from Los Angeles to Tokyo on like Zip Airlines.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Super cheap. Zip Air, the best. And after that, once you're in Japan, just eat like matsuya every day for like $2. It's like a beef rice bowl. And if you want to like meet people, go on Meetup and meet like groups with similar interests. And if you want to drink, just buy soju at the konbini for $1. And there's your whole life, and it's very cheap.
I'm not saying this because I think you should. Like, I don't even think university is necessary. But if you want to be in Japan and work a job, even like as a restaurant waiter, they're going to ask for your university if you're a foreigner. I don't think they ask for that for Japanese people, but I've had friends who had very difficult experiences trying to get a job. The other one is learn some Japanese before you come, and then when you come, keep learning Japanese, and you'll get good really fast. The other one is be prepared to be.
I agree with this one. I like the idea of getting a baseline of Japanese, enough to get you around and stuff like that. And then when you're there and you actually have Japanese people to talk to, that's when you just lock in and you just hardline to try to frickin' get it down.
Be treated like a non-Japanese person if you're not Japanese.
Okay, so that's what people say all the time, right? Like they treat you as a foreigner, no matter how long you live in Japan, stuff like that. Like, what do you think? What's your impression?
You'll never be treated as a Japanese person, but you can use that to your advantage really well. So a negative person will be like, oh, and like a positive person will be like, shit. They get mad at all the Japanese guys, but they never get mad at me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So depending on how you look at it, like, you know, and I think I've been here long enough and I speak the language fluently so I can make friends and stuff, but I think it's cool to have like a Japanese side and an American side.
Definitely come with a plan and be realistic. I think whether you want to come over to be an English teacher or maybe you want to just come to be an English teacher at first and then transition into something more permanent, you have to have a plan. Whether that means getting up on the language as soon as possible, you do need to be a native Japanese speaker for a lot of jobs here still. That's the truth. Like that'll help you way easier if you get it, like start building your Japanese now.
But I would say there are tons of resources here, especially now.
Right.
14 years ago, there were less, but right now they have like a digital nomad visa for 6 months. Here in Shibuya, they have like a one-stop business center for like an entrepreneur visa. There are many resources for you to come here. You just have to realize that it's possible and do some research.
My biggest advice is come here one time first and experience it and then make a decision after.
Also sound advice. I still think he's dumb, but it is good advice. Genuinely, I'm trolling a little bit. Um, I do think it is genuinely good advice to go and visit a place for a week, 10 days, have a little vacation there, and then, okay, I've been here for a little bit. How do I feel about it? Can I see myself truly adapting to this place?
That. Just come straight here and try and live here. It's not going to go very smoothly for you. You got to understand systems. You got to understand the rail system. You got to find someone that can maybe help you with like logistical things like my company would do. So I would say come here, make some connections, make some friends, stay for at least 2 weeks if you can. I know you might have work, you might can only stay for a week, but a week's even good. I would say come visit first.
Do you have any American friends who came to Japan and they thought that Japan is not for them?
I can't say I have anyone that's like that. Any friend of mine that has come here has been pleasantly surprised and has started consider living here rather than not living here. So I haven't had like the negative impression side of the opinions yet on my end.
Good to know. Thank you. Okay. And also, you speak Japanese, right?
Oh yes,
Okay.
I'm pretty fluent.
So, like, how did you learn? Like, because you've only been in Japan for 1 year or something, right?
Yeah, I've only been living here technically for about a year. で、その時の前に、もうアメリカから勉強したんです。1年高校の時代、4年生の時にひらがなとカタカナ学んだ。そしてますますそういうコンジュゲーション的な。で、そこからほとんど学んだのはお笑いの世界から。だからお笑いが学びやすいのは、台本的な話し方じゃないです。だからみんなおすすめするのは不自然の番組、不自然の話する番組を見た方がいいです。不自然の言い方とかも学ぶことができるから。
じゃあ、そういう意味で言うと、アニメとかは、なんか、パーフェクトな、教材じゃないっていうか。
そうですね。アニメはなんか台本的な話だから、みんな実際にそういう話し方はしないから、言葉とかは学ぶけど、なんか言い方とかはアニメはおすすめしない。だからみんな、なんかアニメで学んだ人たちはみんなアニメみたいに言い方するんですよ。
アメリカに住んでた時、
True.
テレスハウスと、リアリティショーとか見た、日本に越して、日本人の
Speaking of which, maybe we should do some reactions to the like different like Japanese game shows because those shows they're so good. They're so good.
友達作って、居酒屋で、サラリーマン会話練習しています。
サラリーマンに居酒屋で声かけたりする。
サラリーマンと、一緒に2杯生ビール飲んだら、俺ら日本人になります。
Bro needs to get some skincare routine, man. Holy.
酔ってる日本人。
Look at his neck. Oh shit, you guys can't see it. Hold on. I got you. Look at my bro's neck right here. Look at this shit. Oh my god. You can zoom in if you need to. Holy.
人に話しかけると結構楽しい。
そう、マジでペラペラになる。けど今酔ってないからペラペラじゃない。
4ヶ月しか日本にまだ住んでないって言ってたんですけど、どうですか4ヶ月で日本語は上手くなりました自分の。
I wonder why his skin's broken out like that.
と一緒に会話してるから。
It's really bothering me. I'm trying to focus on the word,
まあ
but
ちゃ
I
んと学校に行って、そし
I
て
can't
たくさん日本のテレビを見て、やっぱね、インプットやんないと絶対習得できないんで、まあそのアニメ好きだったらアニメを見ればいいし、テレビとか見て、本とか読んで、やっぱたくさんインプットやって、そして友達とか language partner を作ればいい。最初は大学生だったんで、結構外人が多かったんですけど、でもその後そのコメディを始めて、それはもう本当に日本のお笑い芸人ばっかりだったんで、もう本当にもう毎日8時間ぐらいしか日本語聞いてないから。
日本に住んでて、長いこと住んでて、日本語が喋れるようになる人と喋れない人で分かれてるじゃないですか。喋れない人との違いは何だと思いますかそれは。
日本に来て、もう外国人の友達ばっかりと遊んだりとか、アメリカの番組とか見ると、100% 上手くなんないから、それを全部もうゴミ箱に捨てる。悪いアドバイスかもしれないんですけど、外国人の友達を作んなくていいかもしれないですね。最初はね。その後は全然ありだと思いますけど。
確かに。だって僕もアメリカ行って英語勉強したかったら、日本人じゃなくてアメリカ人の友達欲しいからね。
ね、しかも今こういう仕事してるからめっちゃ上手くなるでしょ、英語。いろんなね。
I mean, even though I live in Japan, I use English almost every single day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't matter where you live at the end of the day. Yeah.
There's people who've lived here for 20 years and they still can't speak Japanese. It's so crazy. I don't understand it.
And some people
I think it's just due to the fact that they don't practice.
just travel in Japan, then they speak Japanese and ask them, how did you learn? And they say like, just, study, like by myself at home,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not impossible. I don't want to give off the impression that it's impossible because it really is possible, but it just takes 10 times more work to do it without being able to speak with a Japanese speaker. But if you're willing to put up the money and use the resources, then obviously, yes, it will give you a big leg up. And then if you haven't already got fairly good with it before you even went there, then when you do go there, it'll be 10 times better.
your home country.
Well, if you think you're going to learn Japanese just from studying a textbook, that's wrong. You definitely have to like listen a lot and speak a lot, but the studying is
True.
like the foundation, I guess.
Okay, thank you for watching so far. How
Very
was
true.
it? That was interesting. America and Japan, the completely opposite country. That's why I thought this video would be interesting. Also, I'm going to be in Los Angeles in January to interview Japanese people living in the
Very
United
cool.
States. I'm planning to film one more videos in Los Angeles. So if you have any video idea that I need to cover in Los Angeles, please let me know in the comments. Okay, anyway, thank you for watching. If you like this video, click the like button. Please subscribe.
Very good. I really like this video. Definitely go to Takashi's channel. Okay, give him a sub, give him a like. This is a very good video. I would say that I think I was fairly decent as far as like what I agreed and disagreed with. I think it was fairly mixed, and I do like that. But yeah, let me know if there's any other videos like this that you guys want me to react to and give my takes on. Other than that, that's going to be it for this video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.